So we're going to be talking about the 4th season of 6 Feet Under. And I'll just set it up here. We got into watching this series, and we watched the whole thing.
Guilty displeasure? No, displeasure's not right.
No,
it's kind of
okay.
well, it's
But,
more than okay.
Yeah,
It's just there's other things that have succeeded at
exactly.
better off
At the time when this came out, this was quite good.
Cutting edge.
Yeah.
So you got Kathy Bates.
But
doing
now
the
TV has just gotten so much better.
Yeah. So one of the signs of it, Dwight Schrute was on this.
Yes.
And he didn't last long. I think he quit kind of like in mid-season.
Yeah.
Saying,
And
hey,
Kathy
I got a better
Bates
deal.
made an appearance.
Sure, exactly.
You know, like this, the actors were quite good in this. I mean, the girl who plays Claire, she's not very good, and
well, she does get you annoyed at her. You know?
She does. That's right. You can't.
There
say
are
it
there
that
are
way.
worse.
So yes,
And you were going to mention.
she plays the part well. But yeah, so I guess she's good for this part. But I
think so.
can't really see her doing anything.
Who knows?
else.
That would be a revelation.
Maybe,
She played
yeah.
some sensitive
You
soul.
never know.
You know.
So anyway, but the guy who plays Nate.
Oh my God!
So bad.
Pete Krause or Kraus probably is how he says it.
Whatever.
Wow. I think I think I saw him at Space Channel before this or something like that. But he is about soap opera and not evening soap opera level.
No.
Daytime
so
soap opera. Yeah.
I don't know how they hired him for any part in this show. Like, what did he have to offer?
Well, I think he's supposed to have some looks, those Germanic looks or something like that. He probably,
Anyway.
yeah.
Yeah, we did. Our favorite episode from this series is
They-
in this season.
Yeah, they kind of cut it down to 2 main actors, 1 guest actor.
Yes.
So
but they were both very good, and they were both
Yeah.
working well with each other.
together, that's an important
And
thing.
it's called, I think it's called That's My Dog. Just a minute.
Oh yeah, that makes
I
sense.
think that's what it's called.
I know what that's referring to. So.
Yeah. Yep. That's
I
what it's
remember
called.
from the
So
first
it's
time we
episode
watched
5
it.
on this. It's so worth watching. So even if you don't like 6 Feet Under, watch episode 5 called That's My Dog on the 4th season, and
You might
want to watch more of 6 Feet Under.
you might even want to watch more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I like the opening credit music. I like the
Yes.
opening credits, and
Yes.
I wouldn't say it's all
there's-
downhill from there.
There's some great art in it. And the funny thing about this series is they really make fun of artists in such a huge way.
I love it.
And
I
So it's
love
the
it.
music.
So you artists, maybe you should watch it.
well,
Kind of perceive yourself how lots of other people perceive
I've known
you.
artists who do watch it, and I think,
Yeah.
wow, what are they seeing in it? Because they're
That's a
being made fun of
problem.
in it. Really?
I can remember watching Night Court, and like I never knew who I could identify with. I think I said, "Who do I identify?" I think it's that big slug bull
Yeah.
or whatever his name was, and I'm going, but no one I could identify with. Yeah, but the one person I couldn't stand,
Yeah.
and he played it so well, was played by John LaRoquette. And so I was talking to my little brother, who was, he'd done jail time, and in the days of jail, Al DeBarge. I won't say how long, because is it a blight on the family? I don't know. It's a blight on it, but.
well, your parents had adopted some tough cases, though.
Well, he was adopted when he was about a year, and he'd been neglected and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. They
So-
actually turned him around, I think, from what he would have turned out. So, and he was young, like once he hit age 25, he'd kind of smartened up, and he only tried to exploit that. That was it. Kind of. But so I had to do that. I should have just said I knew something, or whatever. But so it goes. I didn't intend to expose
Well,
him. And so he, when Al DeBarge was all the thing in the early '80s, he had a dress, and Miami Vice, the suits he wore, and they had to be suits, were either Al DeBarge clones or clones off of Miami Vice. Who was that idiot that walked around? Don Johnson. Don Johnson. And they wouldn't be throwaways. The guy just paid huge coin for stuff like that. So who he liked was John LaRoquette's character. I like Jean Larroquette as an actor,
so
but that character he's playing.
maybe the artists who
what
are
a
watching
celebrity.
this show, or they're thinking, oh, they're right on people.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
just don't understand. Like
Mm.
the people are so messed up in this, and
Yeah.
they have some interesting, like the writing. There's interesting parallelisms and stuff like that between the characters. Like there was one episode where Ruth, I think her name is, the mother,
Yeah, yeah.
is overreacting. She's overly jealous, and she's
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
She's awful.
Yeah. Well,
She actually does a pretty good job portraying her character. The sad thing is, she looks almost like my grandmother on my dad's side. And I'm going, wow, that's what makes me react so strongly to it, because it's like seeing my grandmother go off the deep end. My grandmother was very, very competent and very, very rational, but in a caring kind of manner. You
but
know,
in the same time, they're showing Rico's wife, who should be more jealous.
You're
and
right.
Isn't
and
figuring
she's,
things
you know,
out. You know, she's just too trusting.
Too trusting of Federico or Rico, and I think she doesn't even react maybe strongly enough when she finds out about it. You know. I think she should have just punted him out the door, but she allowed him visitation rights without the court.
Yeah, I guess.
Whatever.
I don't know. She was very
and there are women like that. You know,
yeah.
So.
Anyway, so I would recommend 6 Feet Under, the 4th season. As you can see, we own it. We wouldn't have paid very much for it, I'm sure. But, and we've gotten our money's worth out of it because we've
gone through it at least twice. You know, and, well, that I guess is the whole idea of buying. You save yourself. You know, you would have paid. What did you say?
I don't know.
About
maybe.
$2, maybe.
You know, if I got it when there was a time I was buying DVDs when the video stores were going out of business. So I might have paid as much as $5 for it or something like that. And
I don't know how many discs there are.
I don't know why.
Yeah, but the deal is, what would you have to pay to rent it? $5 or whatever back in the days.
Well, even then, I can't understand why people buy cable. Because you could just...
It's a lot of money, eh?
Yeah,
Netflix
you could, even if you were paying $5 for this, that gives you a lot of airtime, and you can watch it at your own leisure. So
yeah, it's
and
a
you don't
complete
have to watch
season.
the commercials.
What is it? 20
it's
things?
So much.
Yeah, how many discs do you get? It's got to be somewhere around 6 or
5 discs, 12 episodes on 5 discs. So that's a lot of hours.
Discs.
And yeah. And well, nowadays you can just borrow the stuff from the library, or
true.
Yeah.
But no one's going to do that. Well, some people do.
No, or you should be able to get it from Netscape.
Netflix, Netscape,
whatever it's
or
called.
whatever.
I think it's Netflix. You're right.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what it's called here in Canada. Is it the same deal or whatever? But I don't know. You know, like.
I don't watch that. My sister hooked us up with it in Grand Prairie, and we didn't watch it. So.
Well, that's amazing. Oh, that was a Canadian version, and at that point in time, they were having trouble getting enough selection for the Canadian Netflix, or whatever it was, and so they had very limited selection. Right? Yeah. So your sister was very kind.
Well, that was that's very nice. My sister is much more computer savvy than I am. So
well, you're pretty good at it, but she's pretty good at it too.
I'm really not. I know some specialized things, and that's it. And I try to learn, but I'm really bad at it.
No, I'm really bad. Or maybe you're leaving it open for really, really bad.
Anyway, I try. I try to learn, but it's difficult for me to learn that stuff. Anyway, I don't think anything more needs to be said about 6 Feet Under.
Not for that season. There are other seasons. Do you have any others? Is this the only one?
This is the only one we watched.
That's the only one.
So it's a review, but
it should have been better, because they had, the guy that plays George, the big tall geologist, pretty good actor. Yeah. The hippie woman who I don't know if she just turned up on this season. I think she turns up every so occasionally. She's a good actor. Dwight Schrute, the guy who plays Dwight Schrute, he's basically playing, something like the role he played on The Office. only
Similar.
not
He's
nearly
more
as
a
malignant.
cross between his character in this and George.
Hmm.
For the others. And somebody else.
Yeah, well, George doesn't know
Does a
it all,
good job.
and he actually does, from what I can tell, know it all. Right?
Mhm.
And so the funny thing is, they've got Dwight Schrute talking about Formica being from four and then mica, so it shines. And George, of course, has to correct it in front of other people,
Yeah.
you know. And people shouldn't try. They should try not to do. Or was it in front? I can't remember. I think Ruth was there, or something like that. So Formica comes from formic, which is the root formic means ant, and how do you get Formica from that? I believe that's where it comes from. Did he say that? I think he just said it doesn't come from it, but
I wasn't paying close enough attention, I suppose. I was doing
Anyway,
other things.
yeah.
But anyway, so one thing that we had forgotten to talk about again was the discussion with David Suzuki on the CBC.
Oh, poor David Suzuki, yeah.
And we need to discuss it, and
We got some time.
we have
got some
20
time.
minutes. We'll
There
see
we
if
go.
can get it done.
Can we fit David Suzuki into this?
Yeah. Well, it's an important thing to talk about. So, anyway, we've been hearing a lot on the CBC by a lot of very successful, from their point of view, marginalized or disenfranchised racial minorities or something like that.
Oh, it's anything
And
that's they consider
They're extremely
minority.
wealthy. I mean, these people are on the CBC talking about how hard done by they are when they're musicians or whatever. And honestly, it's difficult for.
Does David Suzuki talk that way? We just got to make it clear. I don't know if he
No.
talks that way.
No,
He's
but
highly successful.
He's highly successful, and honestly, my views on it. There are some racist people in Canada because it's a multicultural society, and there's a lot of cultures of people that they have some issues, and then
That's
when they
something that seems to get
immigrate,
lost in the shuffle.
They bring that with them.
Yeah. So the two people
but-
that I've run across who I'll just illustrate, who used bad words for black people, where one was a first generation dude from elsewhere, and another was second generation dude. So the second generation guy, and he'd use it quite a lot. He didn't like that N-word music.
Yeah.
And what he liked was the long hair bands of the 80s, and I'm sitting there thinking, dude, it's based on your so-called N-word music, rhythm and blues, more than anything
but
else.
what I'm trying to say is the people that are being interviewed on the CBC they may be from Saudi Arabia, or they may be from India, or they may be from wherever, or their parents may have been, or whatever. But here in Canada, they are successful, and they are being interviewed on the CBC. And when Canadians in general are listening to people who are well off, trumpeting about how hard done by they are,
They seem to be better
It's
off than you and me.
definitely.
Of course,
So
I've got.
it's a little bit
many
hard
of their-
to swallow for a lot of people, right? They're listening to it and they're like, and
No, I've got African American blood in me, I'm told. Indigenous American, South Asian, and that's just the start. One group that I've got in me is close to the most maligned and punished group of all. And I won't mention which one it is because there's so much legitimate, like real racism against them.
And I am going to say, if people feel that they need to talk about that, then that's, they have a right to talk. People have a right to free speech, and I think,
Yep.
but understand that when, say, the CBC they tend to interview certain types of people more than others. And
Well, that
I'm
is
not
true.
talking about certain racial groups. I'm talking about artist types or
Yeah. Well,
you
what's
know,
that
that
about?
group, right? Or writers or musicians. They don't interview, say, some
I don't hear too much scientists. Every so occasionally they got
Not
someone
too
on the
many,
ideas
or-
program.
sure.
Or their idea of a scientist is David Suzuki's
Or-
trained scientist, but he's a popularizer.
postal workers or janitors or people that do physical labor. They don't interview
I'm sure they. Yeah, you've
other.
got a
Do you
good
see what
point.
I'm saying?
I never really thought
So,
about that. They don't do that, and really, if they consider themselves left wingers, socialists, that's the kind of people
So
they should be interviewed.
when all of these other people are listening to the radio and they're listening to these people that are being interviewed and I mean, they're thinking, well, geez, you're way better off than I am. And, you know, I'm concerned that come voting time or whatever, or even just them hearing this and thinking, you know, I wasn't feeling any animosity towards any other races before, but now it's like, what a bunch of ingrates, or why am I even packing this meat in this plant, or whatever.
So,
I don't know. I'm just concerned. Do you see what I'm saying?
What you're registering actually is privilege. Privilege for
Yeah.
people who are going
Yeah.
around. They're being characterized as being marginalized. Here's someone who's marginalized, and they're on CBC. They're selling. I don't know what they're selling now, but you know, selling CDs. They're
Yes,
selling
so they're
out concerts
getting
and stuff like that.
free marketing
Marginalized
time
privilege,
on
which is
CBC to begin with. So here the public taxpayer is paying for them to have airtime to publicize themselves, to market themselves, because a lot of them are artists or writers or musicians or whatever, like in that. Do you see what I'm saying? So the
Oh, I see.
taxpayer
I
is
don't know if
having
anyone
to
out there sees it, but
is having
Yeah.
to pay for that, and they're having to be told that they're
that they're racist.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, like,
so how can they possibly? I don't know.
No,
Okay.
there's
Anyway,
lots of
I was going to
racists.
talk about David Suzuki, who
Yeah.
does not claim to be marginalized.
I sure
At
hope he
least I
doesn't.
haven't heard him. So
He's a
but
member of the
he-
establishment. He's got a lot of privilege going.
Yes, he does.
You know, he's had a TV
And
program for how
basically
long?
he's-
Since 1962.
Yes.
You know, what is
And
that? Almost. Or he's
basically-
been working. I got to correct that. He's been working in the media since
Yes,
1962.
he's a media figure more than a scientist, but he's a doctor. He has his doctorate, and he did say some valuable things in the interview I was listening
Yep,
to.
exactly.
About how the body is supposed to be moving. We're supposed to be physically active, and that's right. You know, if you're not gonna, your health isn't gonna be great. And but he said some other things that, you know, like that I kind of tweaked onto, because he'd mentioned how the interviewer was asking, well, do you have anything else that you want to achieve before, you know, you're old, whatever, and basically sort of thing. And he was like, well, I've already racked up so many carbon emissions going around the country and going, you know, this and that. And so at least he acknowledges that, right? But
I haven't
at
heard
the
him
same time,
acknowledge it before.
no, I
And
haven't.
I know one Japanese
And-
professor who was kind of laughing at him back in the 70s
Mm-hmm.
for gallivanting all over the globe. There's no need for it. You use stock footage and then you comment. Gallivanting all over the globe. And you know at least one person that called David Suzuki on
Yeah.
that quite a while
My
back.
ex, when he was a teenager,
So when he was a teenager, it might have been when
Yeah.
he was 15
he
or so,
went
right?
to see David Suzuki, and he would have went there on foot, whereas
Hmm.
David Suzuki would have flown there.
Flown and
And-
yeah. Who knows how
Yeah.
he got from the airport, but we can only guess.
I don't know.
I don't think he was. Anyway,
No.
go ahead. This one's a great story. At least I think.
Well, and so David Suzuki was telling him about how he could be more environmentally conscious and giving him all these suggestions. And my ex-boyfriend just left saying he doesn't he doesn't know anything about me. And yet he's made these sort of judgments about me, and he's telling me, you can do this, and
Stuff that
and
he
he's
knew
like,
already, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, and he was a very environmentally conscious person. He tried to be,
Mhm.
and so he left thinking, what a jerk, David Suzuki is just,
He got patronized
because, he got patronized.
by a guy of
And-
privilege.
Yeah, and he was thinking, you flew here, kind of thing. David
Mhm.
Suzuki. So he'd clued into that back then, and he was just a teenager at the time.
Mhm.
And anyway, so there's that. What else were we talking about in that David Suzuki we were wanting to talk about?
Well, we want to stress that we basically agree with his, he's kind of like a one
Yeah.
issue wonder, kind of like environmentalism and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And it's important. Global change. I'm going to call it global change. I really am. But it's going to be a crisis for some people. No doubt about it. I don't know when it's going to crunch. I mean, it's hitting different places, different times, different people. In the 80s, during Brian Mulroney's little reign, the salmon, I think it was on the East Coast, crashed. It was just boom.
Yeah, they've been trying to build it
And
back.
we better hope
It
that
hasn't been working so far.
other things don't crash all at the same time. So, let's hope that we don't get an antibiotics crash at the same time we got this COVID going.
That's it. You have to wonder, are they using antibiotics while people are in the hospital with COVID, and how many people are using them that way?
If
and
someone
then,
gets
we're losing
pneumonia, I think they have
antibiotics,
to,
so-
right?
Huh?
If someone gets pneumonia, I
One
think they
would
have to.
think.
They wouldn't be
But-
using it against the COVID. That's a viral infection. But,
Mm-hmm.
and or just various bugs getting tolerance to
Yeah.
alcohol on hands. I haven't heard anyone talk about it, except Pauline and me.
Yeah.
But,
Like, I wear gloves when I go out.
mm,
I guess I should talk about that.
should be required wear,
Yeah.
I think.
Because if you're, like, there's this Indian street food that they make, and it's like a big wrap. It's sort of like a big crepe, and I've reviewed a book about how to make them before. So anyway, you can look it up. And they say that the stuff bubbles and ferments just because of whatever is on their hands, like that the life comes from their hands and goes into the food, sort of thing. And I think that it's right. And because you have probiotic bacteria all over your skin and within you, and all sorts of things, right? And if you become unhealthy, like when James had the stem cell, he had things like
Growing
fungus and stuff
on my
growing.
stomach,
He had to,
on my
you know,
stomach,
yeah.
on the skin, on my toes,
So he had to
on
get.
my leg.
I had to rub cream on him and stuff. But
I couldn't
anyway,
reach my toes.
Yeah. So, what was I going to say about that? Oh yeah. So people have been just lathering up with lots of alcohol on their skin, and if you do that, you're not only killing the bad things, but you're killing your probiotic bacteria on your skin. And that's not a good thing. You need that so that you can stay healthy. And also, if you aren't wearing gloves, then things could get underneath your fingernails. It's very hard to clean underneath your fingernails. I know, because I garden, and I will make kale juice and stuff like that, and it really gets under there, and it's hard to get it out. And I can see that, right? But the stuff that I can't see, I know that would be hard to get out too. So It's
What
it
happens?
just makes sense to wear gloves,
Mm.
which that's what I do. I wear gloves when I'm out, and then I can just alcohol the gloves on the outside.
No, you never
And
can
then
tell
I'm
what
not-
you're going to be confronted with.
Yes.
Could be Boris Johnson want to do a bare handshake with you. I think I'd rather dig in some fertilizer with my bare hands and shake hands with a guy like Boris Johnson or Donald Trump or Jason Kenney. Any number of.
Well, you can't shake hands with people right now, anyhow.
Well, you wouldn't want to, but
No.
what I'm just using that for. I'm not saying it would happen. It's just for something like a joke.
And honestly, people might not shake hands with people after this anyway. That might be a
I
custom
don't. I
that's
think it's a
disappeared.
disgusting habit. I never liked
Yeah.
it much when I was a kid.
No, it's odd.
It's odd now. Apparently, this might be suburban or ex-urban myth
It might. I
to
might
show
finally...
you weren't carrying a weapon.
Oh
medieval
yes,
times.
yeah, that's
And
probably
people
it.
did carry weapons around in medieval
Yeah.
times. I guess it's still medieval times in some places in the United States, or with some
Oh.
figures,
Or with some people because they've got to carry weapons.
Hmm.
And they're not like swords. They're a whole lot more dangerous.
Yes, but I don't know what I was going to say. It wasn't about weapons. Oh, I was just gonna say